First of all, thanks for a great film. Really loved it. Honestly, probably my favorite Predator film since the first. Everything I wanted out of the movie. How did you come on board, and what attracted you to the project?
I originally auditioned for this in like February of 2020. That was the first time I auditioned with Dan. So that was like, 2.5 years ago. And then it disappeared for a long time and COVID happened and all that stuff. And then it came back and it was under a working title and I had only ever seen my audition materials. So the only thing I knew about it was that it was a movie about a young Comanche woman who wanted to be a hunter. I had no idea that there was a monster. I had no idea that the monster was Predator. I had no idea that this was a Predator movie. And that information did not get presented to me until after quite like close to the test, which was when I found out that this was a Predator movie and that like quite close to shooting also. So
this is your first acting role, right? Like this is the first time you've acted in a movie. How did you land this? How did you come on board the project? What's the story there?
It was just kind of one of those things where the stars kind of aligned. I auditioned for this other project. It was like an open call on Instagram. I saw this native guy up in Canada post. About a year later, they sent me just a random email, this casting agent, and she said, "Hey, I want you to audition for a small part in this movie." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I did, and then I did via Zoom a couple times, and then they flew me to LA, and I was like, "This doesn't seem like a small part." And then I found out it was Predator, and then they cast me, and I was like, "Holy crap, this is pretty wild."
What was the genesis of the project? How did this come together?
Well, I was really inspired by, you'll be a fan of this, Fury Road, Mad Max Fury Road. And I was really, really charged by, can I make a movie that's the story is told primarily through action, but it also have some heart to it. And so I thought about infusing an action movie, a genre movie, with the engine of a sports movie, telling an underdog story. And in thinking about that, it led me to think, well, it would be great if the protagonist of this movie is one that we have never seen before, and in thinking about that, I thought how Native Americans, and Comanche in particular, are often used as the sidekick or the villain and never the hero.
Were there any preconceptions that you were sort of determined or really wanted to address in terms of how the Comanche people have been represented on screen previously?
It wasn't really a preconception. I think it was a good thing that Comanches were in this from the concept, right? Like from the beginning. So it was easy just to build on that because there wasn't anything that was really correct that needed to be corrected. It was just a constant, constantly putting Comanche things in there. And the fact that, Dan listened, that's really important because he wanted accuracy. He wanted authenticity. We had Comanche people working in every aspect, from music, from, even on the end credits, when you see the credit roll, we had fine artists replicate. That's the kind of art that was done for that time. That's hide art. It's after the rock art and before the ledger art. So we had, fine artists even doing that. So, Native people had a hand in everything.
Yeah, that to me, the representation element and the cultural accuracy is like the most important part of this movie to me. And that's what I'm most proud of, is like the representation. So, Jhane Myers, our producer, is an enrolled tribal member of the Comanche Nation in Oklahoma. So she was there with us every day. She was there for training camp. She was there like from the very beginning, always making sure that things were, as accurate as they could be. And obviously, like, being a Native person myself, like, I'm wanting to always make sure that everything is as accurate and respectful as possibly can be.
What about the stunt work and fight choreography? How did you find that? Because you do a lot of very physical action in this.
Yeah, so I told Steve McMichaels, the stunt coordinator, I told him I wanted to do all the stunts if I could, and so he did. He let me. So just the rolling around in the dirt, the horse riding in particular, was a lot of fun, man. Just shooting the bow from the horse, just kind of the speed of which everything has to happen, because obviously this predator, he's, if he gets a good hold of you, one shot is going to get you pretty well. So you have to basically not let him touch you if you can. So the rolling, the speed, that was intense but fun.
How did you find the physical elements of the performance?
Extremely challenging. It was not anything that I think you could, or that I somehow like imagined. Like, I read the script and somehow was still surprised at how much action there was. But also it was really cool. I mean, like, in what world can you say like I swam in a river and fought a monster in the same like few months? It was hard, but it was also really cool.
Why this particular time period? I'm used to like American historical films basically starting around the War for Independence and going forward.
I think for what you just outlined is that we rarely see it. Usually Westerns are set in the 1800s, and we so rarely see this time period portrayed, and I thought it would allow us to be much more elemental, and to have the intrusion of the French fur trappers might potentially, I mean, they're in the trailer now, but when you read the script, it's a very unexpected, oh my gosh, right, they're in this movie too, thing. So it's mainly just because it's less mined territory, and it's also when Comanche, ruled the nation.
Was it intimidating? Like, you see all those guys like Arnie and Sonny Landham, and you're like, oh God, I got to get ripped for this. I got to get into shape.
Yeah, I watching those big old, bears of men on that show. You're kind of like, wow, this is wild. And they got me a personal trainer, but they were kind of going for more of a period look. So I would work out a lot. I would run a lot, and I got really, really skinny. In shape, strong, muscular, but really skinny. Just kind of to fit that time and to fit the fighting style and this and that. But obviously, it would have been a little cooler if I was like super stacked like Arnold.
How do you go acting opposite like digital special effects? What I assume would be a tennis ball on a stick, because you've got, not just how the predators sort of made physical while you're acting opposite, but you've got the bear, you've got the cat, you've got...
Actually, a lot of stuff was practical in this, and I feel like we were very lucky. Even the cat on the tree was literally a man in a gray suit who was climbing around like a cat. And as a joke, they drew a cat, like a kitty nose, and like on him. So yeah, that was like kind of harder because I was like, hey, you look silly. But no, I feel like there was pretty much always, like, even the bear, there was a guy in a bear suit. Like, again, really ridiculous to look at and quite silly. But so like in moments like that, I'm like, maybe a tennis ball would have been easier, but wildly entertaining.
Do you think more generally we're seeing an uptick in sort of Indigenous representation on screen? I'm talking about stuff like Rutherford Falls. We just had Dark Winds, which I checked out the other day. We've got this.
Yeah. It certainly feels like there's kind of a wind behind this, and it's kind of on the rise, which is just very exciting. Like you said, all those projects. You got Reservation Dogs, and I think people find it fascinating. They find Indigenous culture fascinating, and it's something new and different to see when it's portrayed accurately. I think that people really enjoy. So I certainly think so.
What's your read on the culture at the moment?
I think the quality of Indigenous content out there is definitely being upgraded. Like, there's always been even a small space for us, but it's not, I mean, first of all, it's small. And then it's not always the best quality of content, like, or the best characters. Like, oftentimes it's, people who are represented as extremely stereotypical, or it's like hyper spiritual, or it's this image of a like savage whatever, and it's quite one-dimensional. Whereas like now, I think with shows like you're talking about, or this movie, you get to see a variety of people who all have different personalities, which is honest to humans, and obviously like Native people. And then you get to see the different like the versatility and the capabilities of Native actors, and also like storytellers, like writers, producers, stuff like that. And I think it really proves how valuable Native people are to any workspace.